And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Caleb Densman, who writes, so it just came out that Robert Pattinson only made $3 million from The Batman, compared to Christopher Hemsworth's $20 million for Thor 4. Why? I know the movies have vastly different budgets, but Hemsworth's is at least 10% of the budget and Pattinson isn't even 5%. Seems weird. Thanks. All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, one of the films that I am most excited about seeing is obviously The Batman. I'm stoked for it. Now, look, obviously, what I really want Santa to leave in my abundant-sized stocking is a Ben Affleck written and directed and starred in Batman movie. That's what I want. That's my first choice. But if I can't have that, a Matt Reeves directed Batman movie with Robert Pattinson lead role, I'm all for it. That sounds great to me, and I'm down. And yeah, a story came out that basically laid it out that Robert Pattinson's been paid $3 million for the Batman movie. Now, in a world, and Aaron, I'm sure you're scoffing at that because you make that on a Saturday afternoon. I'm sure for a guest spot.
I mean, $3 million, yeah, for my salary 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch. Obviously, a lot of actors would love to make $3 million. But in a world that we live in right now, where, you know, a bunch of people, we see these actors making 15, 20 something million dollars, right? It seems, I understand why, that some people would take a look and see that Robert Pattinson made $3 million on the movie and start to scratch their head. Really? Big name star that everybody knows and one of the most premium IP movies coming out, $3 million. Why is that? Anyway, this comes to us from the folks over at Screen Rant who write, ahead of the film's release, Variety has revealed how much Robert Pattinson earned for the film. The actor netted a reported $3 million paycheck for the film. The payday puts him as the 17th highest paid actor in 2021, behind the likes of Tom Cruise, Will Smith, Dwayne Johnson, and Daniel Craig. So, yes, there is a big question mark around a lot of people right now who are asking, why on earth is this guy only making $3 million when we have like other actors making 20 and something plus million? Okay. So I think there's two big reasons. Reason number one is this. As well known as Robert Pattinson is, the fact of the matter is, outside of Twilight, which, let's face it, was as successful as it was because of it was Twilight. The books were world phenomena. Everybody loved it. Everybody was going to go see Twilight. Robert Pattinson was a part of that, yes, but nobody looks at that and thinks that movie made money because of Rob Pattinson, even though he was clearly one of the reasons. But since the Twilight time, what he has done to make him so respected in the industry is what is also going to keep his salary moderate right now. He's only appeared in small indie projects and done incredibly well with it, you know, and he's done incredibly well with them to the point that the directors around the world are lining up to work with him. But the reality is it keeps his salary potential in check, $3 million. Whereas when the second reason I'm going to suggest is only that much, okay, you look at Chris Hemsworth and Thor 4 making $20 million. This is why Netflix will often cancel their shows after 2 or 3 seasons. Because the longer a franchise goes, the salary demands of the stars get higher and higher. Because they know more and more. Now I'm pivotal. If you want to keep this show going, this movie series going, I'm pivotal. And they can demand more. So you have Chris Hemsworth going into Thor Ragnarok, who had already appeared, I can't remember, in 6 Marvel films, maybe 7 at that point. I can't remember the exact number. And the franchise literally has his character's name in it. You're going to have to pay him a lot more. Because I'll tell you this, guys. Robert Pattinson, if they make 3 of these Batman films, by the time they get to the 3rd film, Robert Pattinson's salary will not be $3 million. But yeah, he'll be getting paid. If this Batman film makes, like, it doesn't even have to be $1 billion film. If this Batman film makes $700 million at the box office, $800 million at the box office, they're definitely greenlighting a sequel immediately. They're probably greenlighting a sequel at $400 or $500 million. Get to $700 million, sequel immediately. That makes money. Yeah, he's going to get paid down the road. And now that he is the lead in a big marquee film, his next big marquee film, Batman or Not, is also going to go up. I mean, that's if this Batman film is a hit, which we're assuming it probably will be. To what degree, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's honestly, I get it why it seems shocking to some people to see $3 million for the star of the Batman. But I think when you look at those two reasons, it kind of makes sense. Aaron, obviously you have far more experience in this sort of area than any of the rest of us do as a working actress, as somebody who's had to have, salaries negotiated for, one-time movies, ongoing series, whatever. When you look at Robert Pattinson getting $3 million for Batman, whereas somebody like a Chris Hemsworth is getting 20 for Thor, how does that shake out in your head?
I say, who is his agent and how do I get that person on my team? Because let's be real, $3 million for your first film in the franchise is massive. If we go back to Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. was not making $3 million. Scarlett Johansson, I read last night that she was paid $400,000 for her role as Black Widow in Iron Man 2, which was her first appearance, which I heard at the time that it was even less than that. Nobody really knows the actual numbers. Well, nobody, really knows. So, I guarantee you Chris Hemsworth's Thor 1 paycheck was not what it is for Thor 4. And these projects, they're not one-offs. Okay. Like you don't sign, Robert Pattinson did not sign a contract for one Batman movie. He probably signed a contract for like 7 Batman movies. And then the studio has the ability to go, oh, never mind. We don't want you. Just like every series that I've ever done, I've signed a contract for 7 years so that I know exactly what I will be making, not only for the pilot, which hasn't even been shot yet and may not even ever get picked up, but I know also what I'm going to be making in year 5, 6, and 7 should that series become successful and continue. As you said, actors renegotiate their salaries all the time, so that is not guaranteed what you'd be making. You'd probably be making more, but that's what the studios would have to pay you at a minimum. So he's already signed on probably, I would say that Robert Pattinson has already probably signed a contract for 4 Batman movies at minimum. Now, that doesn't mean that they have to pay him. It's not like football or it's not like the world of sports where if you have a contract, they pay you regardless. It's okay. This is how much we promise that we'll pay you, but we don't have to pay you anything. If we do the movie and if we decide we want you to do the movie with us. So Robert Pattinson's people are like, yeah, we'll totally take the $3 million because A, that is a much, much higher starting salary for most of these franchises than most of the other now $20 million a picture stars that we're seeing in their 4th and 5th iterations. But also they know what's coming down the pipeline. They know there's not going to be one Robert Pattinson Batman. They know that. And so they're banking on the fact that there will be multiples. And I also wouldn't be surprised if there's a back end point negotiated in there somewhere as well that we don't know about. Maybe he's getting a producer credit that they're also giving him an extra, amount of cash that doesn't necessarily get reported as his salary. I'm not worried about Robert Pattinson's bank account at all. And I have no doubt that when the next Batman happens, and it will, that we're going to be seeing a much higher jump in numbers. But actually, this is a pretty large starting salary for someone who has not been and I think maybe if, what was the movie that nobody could understand what was going on? Tenet. I couldn't understand what was going on. Excuse me, smart people. It's not like Tenet blew the box office numbers, so he's still technically considered a risk. I think he's going to do great. I think we're going to see a lot more of him in the bat suit. And like I said, I'm not worried about his bank account at all.
Kim, you see this, you look up the numbers in an age where we're hearing about actors getting 20 million, sometimes like some of Robert Downey Jr.'s contracts have netted him like $50 million. Does it surprise you to see Pattinson's getting 3, or does it just make sense to you?
It doesn't surprise me. I'm new to the industry, so this is stuff that I'm learning as I go. I'm listening so closely to you, Aaron, because I'm like, Aaron knows. But something to not forget is that when Robert Pattinson did Twilight, the last 2 Twilight films, he made over $30 million for each of the last two. And that was a 5-film franchise. So how many films are we into Marvel? So you kind of have to compare apples to apples here. So this is the first installment. And I think everyone, like you said, Aaron, with Black Widow, everyone's entry into this massive universe of the Marvel universe was a humble beginning. But I believe when you're humble and you're patient as an actor, what I'm learning is that good things will come to you. And what I like about Robert Pattinson is what he seems like to me from the outside looking in, it seems like he's the kind of actor that's more interested in negotiating his way into a film where he can prove himself as a true artist in that film rather than I'm not going to step out of my trailer unless you give me X amount of dollars. He doesn't seem to me like that kind of guy because you don't do really, you don't do the types of films that he has done for the paycheck. You don't do The Lighthouse for $25 million. You know, you don't do Good Time and invest in working with these amazing indie directors like the Safdie brothers because you want X amount of money. You do it because you want to prove yourself as an artist, because you want to get out there and say, look, I know I did this bubblegum project with Twilight, you know, and I know all the stuff around that, but let me show you who I really am. And he seems like the kind of actor that is humble enough to say, okay, let me prove to you.
If only I was humble enough to just accept $3 million.
You're
John
not humble.
Campea.
You need to be more humble.
If only I was humble, I too could get $3 million.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he seems humble enough to say, you know what, let me prove myself to the Batman fans before I get up in here talking about I don't wake up for less than $10 million a day, you know?
Yeah, well,
and
he's
I like
just not
that
at that
about
point
him.
in his career right now, and he knows
Can
that.
I just have a counter to that? Because
Sure.
I hear what you're saying, Kimberly, and I don't totally disagree with you, but I also you did point out something, you know, that makes a lot of sense. The fact that Robert Pattinson has fuck you money. He has fuck you money from Twilight. And it reminds me of when Matthew McConaughey did Dallas Buyers Club. It is very well known that everybody got paid Schedule F, which is essentially like $65,000. It is like they got paid nothing for Dallas Buyers Club. In fact, it took, I'm friends with the producer of the movie. It took her years because nobody wanted to take it on. And the reason I bring this up is Matthew McConaughey did garbage film after garbage film after garbage film, these stupid bubblegum rom-coms that everybody was like, okay, well, Matthew McConaughey, I mean, if you had said during How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days that Matthew McConaughey would be an Academy Award winner for Best Actor within a decade, everyone would have laughed at you. But here's the thing. He did all those bubblegum rom-com movies so that he could have fuck you money to do whatever he wanted to do, which was go and do the movies that really gave him that street cred as an artist, to show, hey, I'm doing this. My bills are paid. My mortgage is set. My kids are going to college. Now I'm going to do the stuff that I really want to do. And Robert Pattinson he made the smart decision that a lot of actors who start out at that high level, you know, like you said, Kimberly, they let their ego then take over and they only want to go big. He humbled himself and said, no, I've got my fuck you money. My mortgage is paid. Now let me do what I really want to do. And then that humility does come up in the end. But I think that when you start off with money in the bank, it's real easy, I think, to then humble yourself. So for all of you out there that are like, yeah, I'll get humble when I can get my bills paid. Hey, I'm right there with you. Let's get those bills paid.
Let's remember this too. It's not like he was playing Benjamin Schwettmop in some little corner store indie. This was the Batman role, which meant, now I know it came down to him. And what's the name of the
Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult. Thank you. I was going to say, who's the actor who played Beast again? Nicholas Hoult. I know it came down to those two, which also tells you, Nicholas Hoult isn't calling for $10 million a film either. But you got to know, and I think both Nicholas Hoult and Robert Pattinson knew, yeah, if I say I demand $3 million in one, they've got 500 other agents with 500 other actors ready to take this
clawing
role.
At the door of
and
Batman.
It's like,
are you
$3
kidding
million?
me?
I'll take it. But you're right, Aaron. The Batman 2, Robert Pattinson's salary is not going to be $3 million. I guarantee you his agent probably negotiate, all right, we'll do 3 at 1. If you guys pull the trigger on number 2, his salary goes to this. And that's probably all already contractually laid out. And it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. Anyway, the question is for you guys. What do you think about this? You hear Robert Pattinson is making $3 million, which is more money than I'll maybe ever see in my lifetime, but he's getting that, and it's such a low number compared to some other numbers. How do you guys think about this? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.